Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope you're doing well. So, I was thinking the other day about supermoms, and I think the discussion often isn't discussed as much because a lot of women will use the supermom as an insult to each other, and it's like a guilt tool used on other women who maybe are not as productive or don't manage their time as well. Now, what's fascinating is there's a lot of different genres of different types of supermoms. And what I mean by supermom is a woman who does it all. Now, there are little subcategories of supermoms. You have those who cook a lot from scratch, which I consider myself to be in that group, and with reading, so reading comprehension. There are others who do lots of outdoor activities, so they're on the go a lot, maybe going hiking, swimming, fishing, golfing, basically anything outdoors, and they're really never in the house. And then there are super moms who they put their kids with the nanny or daycare, and then they're all about fitness themselves. And then they do like an Instagram reel, and they're not nursing their child. And one of the main reasons why they didn't want to nurse was not because they didn't have a milk supply, but because they wanted to take supplements and consume products, diet products, fitness products that would have contaminated their breast milk. And so they feed their baby and put them with a nanny so that they can be in the gym. Now they chose to be a super fit mom, and then this puts to a skewed figure about, how can you do everything? Because it's important to discuss with women illusions and just how some women use AI and Photoshop and stuff like that. There's also the super moms who do plastic surgery very soon after they have a child. They've been pushing it off the procedure. They really don't want their body to look like they've had children, and they spend a lot of money to erase signs of motherhood. And so there's some women who think that's a super mom. Someone who is what they call a MILF, which is a derogatory compliment in a weird way, oxymoron. But the other kind of super moms are ones who do crafts, which I really admire those ones. So they're the ones who they have little activities, coloring, exercises that are designed to help children's fine motor skills, problem solving. I really like some of the ideas are just really creative, and they spend a lot of time focusing on their child's development themselves. And then when you go further into the super moms, there are the religious groups. Some moms who take their kids to church activities, Muslim women taking their kids to madrasa. It all is about, though, what you have access to, what you can afford, the support system around you, but also at the very center is what do you do as a mom? It's not who you pay to do the job you were supposed to do. So even in the whole supermom conversation, I personally think that if you're paying someone to do the job, you can't really take credit for that. That's really that person doing it, and you have the financial means to do such a thing. Others have grandparents who they don't have to pay, and obviously they're your family, but they sometimes overburden their family with babysitting. Now you can say we're family, we're all this and all that, but when it comes to like hours every day, you start to see like, what are you doing? And what have you taught the child? You're the mom. And so the supermom conversation really gets women fighting really causes envy no matter which way you go, because there will always be one mom who she's in one group and she really admires the other, but she doesn't have what it takes, or she just doesn't have the ability. And so what I think is very productive is to just look at people who have less than you, which is, there are hadiths that talked about that you shouldn't look at those above you, but you should look at those below you in terms of because everyone has pros and cons in their life. But if you're looking at below you, okay, let's say you live in a big house, someone lives in a slum. They may have family, but you live in a big house, but you don't have a good family. You see, so there's categories of, you have a family, and then someone may have a better mom than you, but you should be thankful that at least you have your grandpa, or you have your cousin, you see? So when it comes to the whole super mom phenomena, new moms can get nervous. What kind of mom will I be? And what's even fascinating is, as the child ages, those groupings can change. You may have been part of, let's say, more into reading when they were 4, but when they turn 7, you switch to more outdoor activities. Age-specific stuff is important. And the most tense time, I'd argue, when the child is under 2 years old, because these are rapid behavioral developments, and sleep is something that really affects everyone differently. So when you see these women who they just had a newborn, but they're spending a lot of time with their makeup and they're right back at the gym, sometimes you have to remember they're paying somebody, or they have the support system. But you shouldn't push your body too quickly, too fast, and hemorrhage, rip your stitches open. And to be exhausted is a new thing for a new mom. A different type of exhaustion. And some women don't handle the sleep deprivation very well. Their mind plays tricks on them. And so it's so important for women to realize that if you push yourself too hard too soon, you're going to run into some problems. You're going to start to resent your baby. So that's why when new moms are on Instagram or YouTube or TikTok, and then they see this woman pregnant, and she's got a 2-year-old in the stroller running, and then she clips the video to shows her cooking a huge meal, and then her house is spotless, and she has like a homestead or something. You have to be careful, because she's not showing you the hired help. And a lot of women will lie about not having hired help, and they will also lie about how much they make others do for them. Now, you should have a support system. I know that's important. The village, it takes a village. But you gotta remember, if they are not giving credit to those people, then they're taking glory for something they didn't do. Stolen valor, let's use that term. They aren't doing this sort of multiple arm approach. Like, in one arm, there was I think probably many people have seen such art, where it's like a woman will have multiple arms. One she's cooking, one she's holding a baby. Even SpongeBob had an episode where him and Patrick were taking care of a baby clam. And then you're trying to look like a supermodel. And there's only so many hours in the day, and if you're a Muslim woman, you have your prayers, but you have to have self-care. Now, a lot of moms, like myself, we consider having a nice shower uninterrupted as self-care, but that is also a need. Like, it's a hygienic need. And some can talk about self-care as being something you do yourself, where you are free of serving others, but you can have a moment to just unwind. And some moms don't do that, and they're always on the rush, and then this creates a sort of exhausted anxiety that makes them very frustrated and bitter and competitive. Women do compete. heavily with each other when it comes to like how fast did you bounce back. And some women, they don't want to breastfeed because you need to keep your nutrition up to make milk, and it takes energy. You know, you burn calories and such, but they want to really shame moms for being in the house because you can't breastfeed everywhere in public comfortably. And you can pump milk, but that also has a lot of washing of bottles. And so what I'm trying to get at here is that moms, when they are just surviving, they should consider themselves supermoms. But there are women who can get motivated to do more. And I think each one of us can do more in some area and cut from one area. So it's almost like you have the pie chart and you're like, okay, how much time are you spending on, let's say you're having soccer? How much time are for reading? Excuse me, for doing religious activities? How much time are you taking for yourself and for your husband? Like, it's a full thing. And a lot of modern women, because the sexual revolution has created so many single moms, and they had premarital relations and the man wasn't committed, so she's not really close with his family, and she's got to pay for daycare. Some of them don't have like the two families helping, and some people, they decided to have children with bad men, and those family members can't be trusted, and maybe she comes from a bad family and her family members can't be trusted. So there's a lot of variables for each mama to take in order for her to realize she's doing the best she can, but also for other moms to remember, okay, how can you help motivate someone, but also how can you help someone become accountable? And each parent knows their own unique routine and schedule. But it's always important to have self-reflection where you look at, okay, how much time am I doing for this or that? Because I remember one mom, she said in Spanish, like, oh yeah, you see these ladies, they're all done up, you know, but their children have like boogers and their shirts are dirty and their kids look disheveled. But she looks really nice, but the child looks like they're a street rat. Like, that's true. That is a phenomenon where the women will have 17 layers of makeup, but they really spent their free time dolling themselves up. But then there's also the opposite, where the moms are so exhausted, the kids look wonderful, put together, but the mom is worn out. And then this is where the man has to decide, do the children come before my phallus? And how do I put the balance of letting my wife have her self-care so she can look pretty for me, but also how do I watch her mental health? And how do I bond with my child and have, you know, one-on-one stuff? Because if you have multiple children, you should spend time in a group, but also one-on-one with each kid. Going to get ice cream, you know, going on a jog, bicycles, you name it, things that kids do. And how can the mom have time with her each individual child? And I don't think date nights are important, to be honest with you. But if some women feel that they want to have the kids with the grandparents and her husband go on date night, they call it, without the children, I guess. But I'm more of the persuasion of you do go to the zoo together, family hiking, picnic, family activities together, go to the petting zoo, the aquarium. San Francisco has lots of outdoor activities for people to do in families. The Bay Area is really cool about that, and there's lots of parks. Not all of them are filled with needles. You just got to stay out of certain ghettos and you'll be fine. And so there's also the ocean. I mean, going to the beach is literally free. So kids love a good ocean, looking for seashells and, you know, feeding some french fries or some bread to the seagulls. Have a little fun, right? It's also whale watching, things like that. You can see the seals. If you want to have fun activities that are free or affordable, wildlife is a great way to go. And there's national parks, like it's a great park in Napa Valley. So, and sometimes a good drive, just going to a nice area you've never been and just cruising and seeing what it's all about and, admiring the landscape. But the supermom phenomenon is an important discussion, because envy is something that women have to watch out for. And it's important to remember that there are moms who like to show that they're doing it all, but they neglect other areas. And let's say there's a mom who's doing Pilates, then she's going to the racket club and playing tennis or whatever, and like her kids are just always with other people, and she's like showing her body on Instagram, and she's just like, fit mom. And then there's a mom who's like, I'm just trying to get through Salah with my kid, like allowing me, and I got, she's trying, she's making it. She's, mashallah, she's got her priorities right. Now, she's not obese, but maybe she doesn't look like she's running a Olympian tryout, right? But there's perspective here. And if you notice how few moms these days have time to really have real philosophical, spiritual, historical conversations with their kids, and then their kids outsource that motherly guidance to the internet. So it is important to be fit. It is important to socialize, but there are some moms who prioritize socializing with wine and hanging out with the girls instead of having these conversations with their kids. And at each stage, kids need different things. And I do contend that you shouldn't think as soon as your kid's in kindergarten, now it's off to the races, they don't need me, I can do what I want. Instead, I really do think that you don't stop parenting ever in your life, but when they get to the teenage point, they're 13, that's when you really have to be the helicopter and monitor and guide, because behavioral problems start to manifest. Emotional control, social pressures. I mean, just the fact that 10-year-olds are watching adult content, smoking weed, some even committing horrific crimes. You're seeing violence and degeneracy appear at extremely young ages. Things that 21-year-olds would have done are now being done by 12 and 13 and 14-year-old youths. So a mom can be focusing on networking for her business and showing like all this feminist stuff, but then her child is really looking for some sort of spiritual guidance, mentorship, coaching that they should have got from their parents, but they're getting it from social media from weirdos, right? But this also then lets us know as moms, it's important for us to consistently keep stuff spiritual in our lives. And Islam helps moms to do such a thing, because we're doing our prayers, reading hadith, Quran. We follow people who keep consistent religious topics in our feed. We keep that type of taqwa, God consciousness around us, so it's harder for us to jump over the fence and go off into La La Land when we have consistent reminders around us, right? So whatever stage you're at, always see where you can improve and be forgiving with yourself, I'd argue. So important. There are moms who focus a lot, like they get their daughters in ballet, and they get their daughters in, let's say, horseback riding, equestrian arts. Their sons are doing water polo, you name it. And some people, they just can't do that. And others, maybe they're just teaching their kids how to take care of a chicken coop, or showing them how to make handmade pasta. Little things like that. And some children are also going to have disabilities. So mothers who have children with disabilities, they have a very difficult time. And so they already are a super mom with all the stuff they have to deal with on the regular, from that large spectrum of disabilities that present different problems that require unique solutions. And so, no matter what, all of us can improve in some area, and we must be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for what He has allowed us to do good in. Now, the key point though is that the supermom phenomenon on social media, I don't think it's necessarily evil in and of itself, because it can remind some moms that they're not stepping up. And we do know that there are some women who would just smoke weed and vape. They're drug addicts or they're alcoholics, slobs. They won't cook for their kids even though they have the time. They rather give them a tablet than do any type of communication with them. So, no doubt, there's gonna be moms who deserve to have a little bit of a reminder. But, again, with mercy and with reason and practicality. Because each person, like I said, they have a different situation. Different situation. But look at where you are as a mom, what's your natural inclination to. Because there'll be some who have different hobbies like painting and they teach their kids art at a young age. Some have great gardens, so their kids are learning gardening. It's really important just to look at what you're excelling at and be thankful for that, and also to remember that there's always going to be people who will be envious of you for that, so you should seek refuge with Allah from the evil of their gaze. But also remember that there are people who you are inspiring. And so if you're ever feeling down, like, oh, I'm not doing enough, make sure that you're having an accurate criticism. You probably are doing quite a lot, but you're just not recognizing it. And so remember, you have a unique child who requires different things from you. And each child is going to have their own strengths and weaknesses, and you're going to have to cater to those needs as the best you can with the budget you have and with the time allotted to you. And so just be cautious when you see wealthy women who delegate so much to other people, create a fake reality, and remember what they're leaving out. I think that's really important, because we have a lot of boss babes who their kids are really being taken care of by others and they're out doing career stuff. That may be the thing you want to do, but if they seem to always have their perfect home and everything about them is perfect, some of them have night nurses who come in and take care of their kid during the night. Wealthy women, you know, they are in their own class. And rich kids don't escape mental illness either. In fact, if you look at the children in Palestine, some of them are more social and more kind than some rich snobby kids. Interesting enough, Elon Musk, one of his kids is a trans, and appears to really resent him and say how he was never there in his life. And so that's something to remember. People chase their goal at the expense of their child's childhood. And then you look at the dynamic of how do you keep the marriage together as a team to raise the children, but not neglect each other, but also be patient with the time period you're allotted. You know, it's quite sad when so many women are afraid that their husband is going to snoop in the other chicken coop, as they call it, because she just had a baby 8 weeks ago, and he's wanting, you know, this other, like, woo, just to be looking like that. So remember, each person also has different genetics, and some women's pregnancies are more difficult than others. And some women have a lot of birth trauma, and that affects them. And some women, maybe with the first 2 kids, their postpartum depression didn't last very long. But with the third, now that they're getting older, you know, the body has changed. There's more aches, slower metabolism. There's intensity to it. When you look at some of these women who are careerists having kids at 38, they're not spring chickens. Some of them may feel more tired and exhausted at tasks that maybe a 21-year-old woman wouldn't have felt so tired doing. And so that's to be taken into account as well. That's why they have money to pay for help. But again, bonding with your child is really important, because we have a lot of people in old folks' homes, and if you look at how society is really giving up, take care of your child, take care of your elders, to pay others to do it. You live your best life. Be very, very selfish, and think life revolves around only the things you want to do, not the things that you need to do. You know, and some of them don't see family as a need. You know, keeping your family unit together, your tribe together, and your marriage together, and your own mental health as well up to par is a monumental task. And so for moms who have to do all that, you have to remember that you're doing good. And so think of this video as a reminder that there are super moms in one area and super moms in other areas. But no doubt about that, not every mom is a super mom, because some moms really are neglectful. Neglectful, selfish, dirty, horrible human beings. I mean, that's just the way the cookie is in the world, the way it crumbles. So no, not every mom is good. And we can't expect every mom to kind of want to fix her faults. But I think healthy reminders about how we can become the superhero we want to be, but also knowing how to balance stuff. And I will say, I think one of the most important is nutrition, food, cooking, and religion. Because one feeds the body, the actual like fuel that keeps you going, and then the other is what keeps your mind and your soul on track. And so when parents are not teaching Islamic values, there's no spirituality at all, and they're just pumping their kids filled with artificial stuff, fast food, excessive junk food, excessive processed foods, you know, really going out of their way to not really provide proper nutrition to their kids, and then behavioral problems pop up. You know, you have to think about that. A lot of parents don't realize how much junk food their kids are eating, and that's why we have a huge rate of childhood obesity now. And so some moms, they'll be fit themselves, but their children will be obese because they're kind of more focused on their booty pic for Instagram rather than spending time with their kids. Because if they went to work out with their children, they wouldn't really be able to do as intense workouts because they'd have to actually be monitoring their children, right? But then there's also women who have jobs that they work at for 40 hours a week. They become obese, and then their children are obese, and now you can see that they've put money and being a sort of super provider ahead of the child's health, you know. And further, some are fashion moms. They want to have name brand stuff, and they spend a lot of their money and their husband's money on fashion, but they don't really spend a lot of time being frugal and creating fun little activities for their kids and, you know, talking about deep questions. You'd be surprised when you start to ask kids, you know, what do you think life is about? What do you think about this? Or they watch a lot of nature videos and just see like how rough Earth is. Kids will surprise you. you know? They're not just empty-headed vessels. They have a unique way of expressing themselves. So, it's something to think about. Something to think about. Remember, there's going to be women who you know in your life who will struggle about what's the proper balance. And like I said, different cultures and different family structures are going to really have different goalposts and obstacles to how you can become the best version of yourself, because moms have to remember your kid's childhood is in your hand. It doesn't mean you're always trying to be fun, but it does mean you're always trying to help them be the best version of themselves and of yourself. And no one will be perfect, but there's nothing wrong with striving for perfection and striving for excellence. Mediocrity doesn't build families, it doesn't build society, and it doesn't build the soul. And so, see what you can do to stimulate your mind and then improve your child's knowledge base and their health. But be cautious, like I said, of the women who present a false image. Okay, a good example, Candace Owens. She's doing a lot of videos and stuff all day. Who's taking care of the child? Most likely a nanny. You gotta see it. You know what I'm saying? Like, how did she had the money to have special diets and personal trainers and had so much help. It's very hard for women to have that type of expectation of like looking like you didn't even have a kid when you're actually doing everything yourself. So be kind to yourself. Be very kind to yourself. Just be cautious, like I said, of the editing and of the things they omit. Be happy with what you do, especially if it's honorable and pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the mothers nurture, serve, and really are a protecting force and a guiding force for their children. And you can't forget that you took on that role. That's your duty, and you must serve that duty. Let me know what you think. Hopefully this video made you want to be more introspective about the topic. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you'd like to read more about what I write, you can go to www.subscribestar.com/MilahanArchive. Hope to see you there.